Well, I put off doing my music for the day until way too late, and so I'm frazzled, and my brain is trying to go to sleep. And so what I did today was I was a little gentle on myself. I pulled up Radiohead drum and bass to try and work on it. Did not manage to make any progress. So I decided to be gentle on myself and said, you know what? Let's just familiarize ourselves with the Serum preset library, and we learned some things. I've learned a lot more about how to make synthesizers and how to turn all the knobs myself. I've been mostly making all of my own sounds from scratch, so it's really cool to now go through presets and like pick them apart and realize, let's try and figure out how are these sounds made and learn something from them here. So I'll just go through a few of my favorites that I found. This wobble bass has kind of a cool the tail, that little like kind of ping sound that happened. And then there again. Just a little like tail that's happening. What is that, right? What's going on there? There's two things. Mainly, it's that the reverb has a long pre-delay here. There's a latency before the reverb kicks in. And then more importantly, they put an envelope on the mix knob here. And you can see when I play a note, it dips down. And then to 0, and then when I lift off the note, it goes back up. So the reverb literally doesn't happen as long as I'm holding the note down. Until I let up, and then it goes. It's not something I'd ever thought about doing before. They have the envelope here, just a normal square envelope. This is what is set to the reverb wet though, and then they just have it set to kind of like inverse here, where when it's played, it turns the knob down instead of turning the knob up. So yeah, so the wobble bass pretty cool here, showing put envelopes on mix knobs, turn them down if you want to have effects happen at the tail. Next we have this fuzz bass here, which is a pretty normal sound. But notably, you see these waves here wobble or moving around like really jittery. And they're doing that by having them attached to this LFO1, which is set to a 1/64th note rate, and it's just kind of like a random stepper. But I would this to me doesn't look like a stepper motion because it's going so fast. I wouldn't think about that as a stepper to create that jaggedness. I would have probably drawn them more smooth, and that's honestly, well, and he also has it smoothed out here, so maybe that would have worked out as well. But yeah, setting a rate to 1/64 to create what is like almost effectively like noise. It's kind of a cool idea I hadn't thought about. Moving over to effects, the other stuff I found there was really cool. Was in these risers they have here, especially this one, kind of in a similar fashion. Cool sound. It's kind of a crazy movement there, and I was like, how are they getting this like so smooth here? And it's because they have the rate on this LFO that wobbles these two back and forth. It's wobbling the PWM here, which makes the wave go in and out of itself, kind of like squeezes it into the same space. They have the rate set to hertz instead of the a rhythmic value, which you can move very smoothly through the range, and then they just have this knob automated by this long 8-bar ramp, and that gives you that slow motion. It then slowly speeds these up. Pretty cool. And then lastly, the one I'm still not entirely certain how it works, but was mind-blowing, was this alien tripod. If I just barely touch a note, it's a lot of sound for barely having touched a note, especially given that all the sound happens after I hit the note here. If I hold it down, triggers afterwards. It seems to all be built, they aren't using any LFOs. It seems to all be built through these envelopes over here. There's two envelopes. One is this quick ramp, and then the other that has 8 things attached to it is this quick attack, quick decay, and then sustains for a long time at one spot, and then has this long 3-second release. What exactly it's doing, I'm not certain. It's affecting the FM and the sync of these two waves, but that wouldn't create a long tail like that with actual sounds. It is affecting the resonance and the cutoff of the filter, but again, those things shouldn't create sound after the fact. The other things it's affecting are the coarse pitch here on oscillator B, so that's just a pitch thing again, doesn't create anything afterwards. The reverb wet, the drive distortion, the hyper wet, So those are over here. So this knob, and this knob, which to me still doesn't tally up to making crazy sounds after the fact. Turn this off. Nope. It's stronger if I turn all these off. Turn off the filter. I have figured it out. I think I've complained about before that it's not actually very clear. The overall like amplitude of the entire sound is ADSR enveloped by envelope 1. So at this point, because it has a 3.6 second long release, anytime you press a button, it is now going to make those sounds for the length of that release. The same way if I pulled up some sound I've made before, this guy, and just turned up the release here, now it rings in the air for a really long time until it finally dies out. It's just a very, very complex sound that has a lot of motion that happens because there's so many knobs on the oscillators attached to the envelope 1, and that has that long release tail. There's a lot of motion that happens after you stop playing the notes. So cool thing we just kind of learned together, taking envelope 1 that in Serum, the tool that controls the overall volume of the entire sound, and using that to modulate motion things. If I take this and put this on this sync window here, if I hold it, it moves after the fact. Kind of cool. Learned a few new things through exploring through Serum's patches, yeah, it's fun to like have this now be an educational experience instead of just a crutch, which it used to be for so long, for so many years. I just pulled up presets because I didn't know how to make my own sounds, and now I'm learning how to make my own sounds, and I'm learning more by going back to the presets. So that's all we have time for today. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.